Because I know people are like, oh, I hate the word discharge. I never discharge a patient. Well, like, we need to have a clear delineation of that in your EMR. Otherwise, the tracking of what you need to do is going to force you to actually spend more money on marketing because you think you have a marketing issue, when in reality, in most cases, you have a scheduling, no-show, cancellation, drop-off issue, or something like that, that an active patient tracking would allow you to do this. Like, I should literally be able to stop you at Home Depot and be like, what's your active patients needed? And you should be able to tell me. So you can actually break down of like, hey, if I have some of these things and I'm wanting this many patients, what are the activities that I should do and what a marketing company should do to get us there to where we're the most efficient with our time and our money, to make sure we're not just spending for the sake of spending. Because I don't know about you, I don't really want to spend money if I don't have to. And so we try to get that to where it's as easy as possible for you, so you can start making more objective decisions and not emotional decisions in your business. We don't always need to spend more. And that's someone who sells marketing for a living telling you this. Like, it sometimes pains me that I need to tell you this, but like, don't always spend money on ads. There's 20 times more efficiency focusing on the back end for almost every clinic we work with. Your margins will be ridiculous. So then you have the money to spend money on ads. But if we don't fix the back end, you're just putting it into a leaky bucket and we might just burn your money. Physical therapy clinic owners, you don't need more new patients. As much as you probably see like 500 ads right now of like, get 350 patients in 90 days, or like all these crazy things, almost every single time I get on a call with an owner and they're potentially wanting to start with us, almost every single person tells me they need more new patients. And in reality, probably 90% of them actually don't. And the reason that there's this kind of weird aspect of people thinking they do is because they don't know this one key KPI that you really have to know to really start to make these decisions. So I'm Dr. Joey Allbritton with Rehab CEOs. We work with over 250 clinics around the nation, and we've just seen all of these trends and metrics and things that we see across the nation of what works and what doesn't, and what things we need to start tracking to make sure we're making educated decisions and not just spending money for the sake of spending money. Because when we look at this stuff, most people, just like surgeons, you send them a case, what do surgeons recommend? Surgery. Marketers, what do they recommend? Marketing. Well, since we actually look at both ends of the spectrum, we have the coaching side on all the business operations, we have the marketing side, we have to look at both of those together. And so most people, the one metric that they do not track, or if they do, they don't inherently understand it, is active patients needed. And so for some of you, you're like, what the heck is active patients needed? Some of you are like, oh, I know that, but then I actually look at your numbers and like, it's clearly not being tracked right. And so active patients are anybody that's actually currently undergoing a plan of care. That doesn't mean they're scheduled. That doesn't mean that there's someone who's actually technically already graduated and they're on wellness. It's someone who is undergoing a plan of care and has not actually gotten to the goal of graduation with you. Whether that's the goal that you originally tied up, or maybe you got to a point where you got better earlier than you expected and then you discharged them. Because I know people are like, oh, I hate the word discharge. I never discharge a patient. Well, like, we need to have a clear delineation of that in your EMR. Otherwise, the tracking of what you need to do is going to force you to actually spend more money on marketing because you think you have a marketing issue, when in reality, in most cases, you have a scheduling, no-show, cancellation, drop-off issue, or something like that, that an active patient tracking would allow you to do this. Like, I should literally be able to stop you at Home Depot and be like, what's your active patients needed? And you should be able to tell me what your active patients needed and how many active patients do I have. So the hard thing about when we don't discharge people is you're grouping all these people together. And so we don't have as easy of a multiplier to be like, okay, I have 100 active patients or an in-network clinic. We should have 1.8 times that of visits on the schedule. So you should have 180 visits on the schedule. If you're cash based, it should be times 1.2. And so we know those numbers because historically, if we try to go for 2 times a week, people aren't going to show up and stuff like that. So we just looked at all the trends and saw what that was. And so a lot of people will be like, I have 100 active patients and I need a ton more new patients. But then we look at their schedule and it's like 130 or 140. They don't have a marketing issue. They may have a marketing and a scheduling issue because you need to fill because we're having such a leaky bucket and we still need more on top of that. That's worst case scenario because we had to fix both of those. But a lot of times we just need to fix people that are not scheduled for the 2 times a week when we recommend that because they're only scheduled 1 time a week. They went on vacation for a little bit and we forgot to get them back on the schedule. Or our numbers are actually skewed because we actually didn't discharge someone because they dropped off and ghosted us, and you need to make sure you check out with them. If they're 7 days past, their active patient has been 7 days since they scheduled, reach out to those first. If they're an active patient, it's been 14 days, reach out to them next, and then 30. And then after 30, pretty much know that they're gone. but you need to make sure that you call them and actually close out their case or make sure they're good, because a lot of those people will come back in. And so usually just by actually tracking your numbers of active patients and calling the people that you're not really sure where they went, because it's like, where'd Susan go? One, it's going to hold your providers more accountable so they actually graduate people. It's going to take off some workload of your front office person so they're not the one having to play mom on top of everybody of like, well, where's Susan? Because they already have 500 other things they need to do. They should also be trained on active patients though, so that way they inherently know that. So once we know those numbers, we'll now be able to start to delineate, like, is this actually a scheduling issue, marketing issue, drop-off issue? What is the actual issue? If your EMR is not able to track this, you probably just need to switch EMRs. Let's be real. Like, this is such a pivotal thing. Like, it's like not knowing what your revenue per visit is. Like, you have to know this. So if your EMR makes this impossible to do, like, don't do it. It's like having a high-low table, but it only goes up 1 inch. Is it really useful? So like, make sure that you have those things so we can start to look at this, because once we start to have that there, and if you're like, hey, I have to have my active patients and my wellness group together, and those are all going to be deemed active patients, just know the multiplier, which is normally 1.8 for in-network, it may be like a 1.4 now, because those wellness people maybe you only see once a week or every other week. So it's going to just lower that average. It's going to definitely make things a lot more muddy if you don't delineate the two. So I really don't recommend keeping them as all one active patient if you're in like more of the wellness side. But if you have to, just know that multiplier will be lower, because effectively the way they're scheduled out is significantly longer. So you're just going to essentially have to have more active patients needed to fill a schedule. The other thing that starts to play into though is essentially length of stay will also start to play into how many active patients you need. Because of course you need more people if you only see people for 6 visits versus 12. And so those are the things that we kind of inherently need to know, because now we know, like, okay, let's fix the scheduling, drop-off issues, all those things, because now we can identify it. And you should know this at the provider level. You should know it for each location that you have. Like, this shouldn't just be like, oh, we kind of know our active patients. Like, we should know Susan has this many, her clinical efficiency is this, her length of stay is this, she's graduating this many people. Like, we should know, because what usually happens is you've got like 5 therapists, 3 of them are doing good, 1 of them's doing average, and Susan is sucking it up. Sorry for all the Susans out there, but like, she's sucking it up. And if we don't have a way to delineate all that, we don't see that, and we can't train them to get better. Like, this isn't always like a, hey, let's just fire Susan. It's, we don't even know Susan's doing bad to tell her she's not doing bad or not doing good. And so we have to have transparency in all this, because then once we fix all of those issues, which costs nothing, that's why I'm a fan of it, then we can say, what are the things we need to do as a company to do some type of maybe actual local marketing, and what does the marketing company you're working with need to do? Because if I know all of those numbers, I can now say we need exactly 5 new patients, or we need exactly 50 new patients. But not knowing that number, that's where like most marketing companies are going to be just default, you need $2,000 a month, you need to spend this, you need to do this. And like, all they're really doing is saying, I need X amount of leads to essentially make sure even if you suck, you can actually cover the cost of paying me for ongoing services, not realizing they could actually just save you money teaching you how to manage the ones that you have, because they don't have that skill set there. So their default is just keep hitting with the hammer because that's all I know how to hit, not realizing it also puts a lot of administrative burden on your staff, and we're spending a lot of money that could be saved for like January when deductibles reset. So we have to be conservative with these things so we have it. And that's the hard thing about some of the marketing companies out there. You're on a retainer with them, but if you don't need Facebook ads, well, you kind of feel obligated to do Facebook ads. That's why we do both of these things. There's times where a lot of our big guys, they're not doing Facebook ads, but we're still doing SEO because that should always be doing. But we're still maybe a coaching emphasis during that time. So you save that money versus I've got a $1,500, $2,000 retainer for Facebook ads and I'm full. I kind of feel like I'm just paying a lot of money for them to do nothing because I don't really want ads, and my team is actually pissed, and then our patients are pissed because we're trying to fit them in and there's no room. And so you have to be really careful there, because also 5 active patients versus 20 active patients, those are very, very different activities you would do. If I have 5 active patients, I don't need to do a workshop. If I need 20 active patients, maybe we should. Maybe we need to do a reactivation of past patients. Maybe we need to double our ad spend on Google or Facebook. And so there's a lot of different things you can look at there. I have a whole nother video on that, so you can actually break down of like, hey, if I have some of these things and I'm wanting this many patients, what are the activities that I should do and what a marketing company should do to get us there to where we're the most efficient with our time and our money, to make sure we're not just spending for the sake of spending. Because I don't know about you, I don't really want to spend money if I don't have to. And so we try to get that to where it's as easy as possible for you. And then the other thing is, A lot of you are like, well, I don't really know all of those numbers you're talking about with like how they actually relate of like how often I schedule someone. That changes how many active patients I need, what my length of stay is. If you need a little bit more help on that, we do have another resource. It's a full calculator breaking all this down of actually even more in depth of active patient tracking, how that changes all your stuff based on your schedule, a full calculator. If that's something you want, make sure you click the link below, go to our school group, and there's an actual full calculator for everything you need so you can start making more objective decisions and not emotional decisions in your business. We don't always need to spend more. And that's someone who sells marketing for a living telling you this. Like, it sometimes pains me that I need to tell you this, but like, don't always spend money on ads. There's 20 times more efficiency focusing on the back end for almost every clinic we work with. Your margins will be ridiculous. So then you have the money to spend money on ads. But if we don't fix the back end, you're just putting it into a leaky bucket and we might just burn your money. So if this was helpful, make sure you watch our next ones. We've got so many more coming out. I'm excited that y'all are learning all these things, and I'll see y'all on the next one.